How's it going today, guys? It's Bill here. I'm going to do a little different today. I wanted to go over a stock with you that I hold. It's probably one that you've never heard of and something a little bit different. When I'm done with this, I'm going to go do a dash. We won't do a ride along with that one. I'll just update you with how I did afterwards. But the company I want to go over today is ticker symbol PTSI, and it's P.A.M. Transportation. It's a trucking company. Um, it's one, like I said, that not a lot of people are in, but it's been doing really well for me for the last 6 months or so. Um, I guess you could say I might even have a little inside information on it. My brother actually works for the company, uh, and he knows the CEO. Um, he absolutely loves working for him. He says the company takes care of its people. He's had plenty of job offers to go to other places, and he won't leave because of how much he loves it. So he says the CEO is a great guy. We'll go over who that is. We'll go over some of the details of the company, stock prices, and valuations, and so forth. So without further ado, let's take a look at what I have in my portfolio as far as that goes, and then we'll look at the other details. So before we get started looking at P.A.M., let's just take a quick update on my portfolio here. After a couple of brutal red days, absolutely brutal for me. It was nice, had a little bit of green today. Not a lot, but a little bit of green is better than a lot of red sometimes. So anyway, my total worth in my portfolios is $74,000. And right now I have a gain percentage of being up 35%. And as we can see in my Schwab brokerage account, I have PTSI there. It closed today at $44.98. My average price is $30.44, which puts me up 47% and up $552 total. And I have 38 shares. In my Roth account, I have a cost basis of $30.96, puts me up 45% for a $294.50 gain there, and I have 21 shares right there. Now let's take a look at what P.A.M. actually does. P.A.M. Transportation Services is a holding company. The company, through its subsidiaries, operates as a truckload transportation and logistics company. It operates in the motor carrier segment. It operates as a truckload dry van carrier transporting general commodities throughout the continental United States, as well as in certain Canadian provinces. It provides transportation services in Mexico under agreements with Mexican carriers. Its operations are classified into truckload services or brokerage and logistics services. Truckload services include transportation services in which it utilizes company-owned trucks or independent operator-owned trucks for the pickup and delivery of freight. The brokerage and logistics services consist of services such as transportation scheduling, routing, mode selection, transloading, and other services related to the transportation of freight, which may or may not involve the use of company-owned or independent operator-owned equipment. So, as you know, with the way inflation has gone, the price of commodities has skyrocketed, and the price of and P.A.M. trucking basically is a commodity. You'll see that with companies that use them, such as anything that has something delivered to them is using a company such as P.A.M. and some sort of trucking company. Because of this, the revenues for P.A.M. are absolutely skyrocketing, and they've been setting records this year. They were absolutely devastated when the pandemic hit in 2020, but since then they've made a wonderful recovery and have just been skyrocketing. Next, let's take a look at their CEO. He's only been there a little over a year, but he came with lots of experience. The stock really hadn't moved much. The revenues hadn't moved much until he took over. And in the last year, they've really taken off. So his name is Joseph A. Vitorito. Joe brings 26 years of leadership experience in the truckload industry. Over the years, he has held multiple positions of responsibility in areas of operation, pricing, human resources, and sales. A majority of his career has been with Knight Transportation, where he was an active leader in the merger with Swift Transportation. His most recent position was with Knight Swift as the Senior VP of Pricing and Network Design. Joe is a graduate from Iowa State University with a BA in marketing. So as you can see, while they hired somebody that hadn't been a CEO before, they did hire somebody with tons and tons, plenty of years, 26 years of experience in the trucking industry, someone that's moved up the ladder and so forth. So I'm sure with all that experience and with the first time being a CEO, he probably has lots of motivation to prove himself and to move this company forward. And according to my brother, he says that's exactly the way he is. He says this guy knows what he's doing, and he is excited about it. Now let's take a quick look at their last quarter's results. They announced a second quarter 2021 net income of $15.3 million, and it reflected a sharp turnaround from a year ago, during which the company recorded an $800,000 loss as the auto manufacturing sector, from which it generated roughly half of its revenue, was shut down due to COVID protocols. So my brother told me that last year, after the pandemic hit, all the car manufacturing plants shut down, and that's half of what they P.A.M ships. So they had absolutely nothing to ship, and it absolutely killed their revenue. It was only 1 year ago that we were scrambling to find replacement freight, as many of our largest customers reacted to the pandemic by completely suspending their operations, said Joe, president, in the press release. Now, just 1 year later, and with a redesigned network, we are pleased to report record revenue and record operating income for the quarter. So another thing he told me is Joe, the new CEO, when all this happened, he, as any good management would do, he took action and made it where they're not so heavily dependent upon just one sector, like they were 50% of their income coming from the auto sector. So they've diversified themselves more. It's the Tontitown, Arkansas-based company's revenue increased 73% year over year to $161 million. Loads in the truckload division were up 18%, with revenue total per mile up 33% to $2.11. The total miles grew 6%, and deadhead declined more than 300 basis points to 8.5%. The result was a 44% increase in revenue per truck per week. And Joe said, while we believe that there remains plenty of opportunity to improve on our recent operating results, and we expect our team to continue to exceed expectations, it is satisfying to see such marked improvement so quickly. The improved operating environment led to a reduction on every expense line as a percentage of revenue except purchase, transportation, and rent expense, which was up 560 basis points. The improved revenue makeup, due in large part to much higher freight rates and higher utilization, led to 1,520 basis points of margin improvement, or an 87% operating ratio on a consolidated basis. Elevated demand and a lack of truck supply drove a much improved operating result for the carrier. Throughout the quarter, carriers were rejecting 1 in every 4 loads tendered to them under contract. So, in other words, the law of supply and demand is playing in their favor here. Much like you see in the shipping industry, the same thing is happening in the trucking industry. The logistics segment saw revenue grow 3 times year over year to $47 million. P.A.M. Transportation doesn't provide operating metrics for the division, but OR improved 660 basis points to 88.7%. Increases in brokered loads and rate per load were the likely catalyst. P.A.M. instituted a 2-for-1 stock split, which has already happened. The company enacted the split to increase the availability of our stock and enhance liquidity within the marketplace. Management believes the split signals confidence in our long-term potential and that the lower share price will make the stock more affordable to a larger number of investors. In another article here, you'll see something that's exactly what my brother has told me that Joe has told him. Joe's top goals over the next 3 to 5 years are to reach $1 billion in revenue, run the trucking operation with an operating ratio in the low 80s, and become an employer of choice for drivers and office workers. So right now their market cap is about $500 million. So that's double what they're at right now. And they're worker friendly, so they want the employer of choice for drivers, and that's like I was told is how much he loves working for them, and so many people love to work for him. He's also looking to make the business as healthy as possible and continue to diversify, so they don't have that same problem with half of their revenue coming from one industry. And they're not going to do that by shrinking its automotive freight, which is where half their income comes from. They're going to keep that same amount, but they're going to grow everything else faster to make it catch up. Now let's take a little bit deeper look into the balance sheet. As we can see, we have the current assets there, and they have grown over time. So in 2016, they were at 100 million, and they've grown to the last trailing 12 months. They're now currently, or at the last report, they are at 160 million. We have the total assets have grown every year, and they're currently sitting at 570 million. The current liabilities, they are pretty steady at 121 million, which isn't necessarily the best in the world. It's one of the yellow flag. That's a yellow flag, I would say. And then their total liabilities are 393 million. So it's not necessarily the best ratio as far as that goes, but they are still, they have more assets than they do liabilities. Then we have their revenues. So their total revenue has steadily grown every year, except for last year because of the pandemic. But they have grown from 2016 at 432 million to the trailing 12 months right now is at 574 million. The gross profit has done the same. It's steadily increased, except for last year. But even then, it wasn't a huge drop. So in 16, it was 79 million to now. The trailing 12 months is 140 million. And their operating income has also steadily increased, and it's all the way up to 60 million. As far as their EPS, they are profitable. Last time they came in at 99 cents with a beat by 66 cents. And their revenue coming in at 142 million was also a beat. And then we can see down here that they've, except for the height of the pandemic, they have been in the last year beat 3 out of the 4 last quarters. And you can see down here where they had quite a few misses up until recently when they changed CEOs. And as we look here, we see that the stock has actually been on fire over the last year. For year to date, it's up 92%, but in the last year, it's actually well up over 100%. I believe, there we go, 142%, well over that. There we go. We can look at the quarterlies. This is the last quarter. where we see revenue was up over 73% year over year. Net income up 1,961%. EPS up 2,000%. I mean, everything year over year was up tremendously. Now, most of that had to do because of the pandemic. But even if you look in previous quarters, they were still on the rise. You're talking about a profitable company up in revenue 15%. Net income up over 1,000%. So that quarter, 15% there also. And then that's when they changed CEOs there. So this is a profitable company that is still increasing revenue double digits. We can go back and compare this to some of the other companies that are similar. We go to their CEO's last company and compare what they've done. Look at the market cap that he came from. So he's come from a large company and he wants to turn P.A.M. into a large company also. But P.A.M. is a smaller company, and yet their PE is way smaller than Knight Swift's, an 8.5 billion market cap to 500 million market cap. Yet P.A.M. is growing 15% in revenue, and yet their PE is well under Knight Swift's. We can look at another well-known, J.B. Hunt. Everybody knows J.B. Hunt, and they're a large, they're 17.5 billion. J.B. Hunt is way bigger, certainly doesn't have near the growth, and the PE ratio is 3 times the size. So it's pretty obvious to me that P.A.M. is undervalued, especially compared to, similar companies to it. We'll take a look here at the value of it according to the sector median. It's quite obvious that it's undervalued here too. The EV to EBITDA of 6, where the sector median is 13.99, is 57% cheaper. Price to sales of 0.91 when the sector median is 1.6. That's 43% cheaper. This is insane. The price to book of 2.93 to when the sector median is 2.9 is right in line. The price to cash flow 6.77 compared to 13.98, a 51% sale for it. So it's pretty obvious to me that P.A.M. Trucking is at a discount, especially compared to its peers. So I just see it as just an undervalued, easy money stock. So that's really all I have for it. Like I said, $500 million market cap. The CEO says he wants to turn it into a $1 billion company. It's steadily revenues and profits are increasing, and it's half the price of all of its peers. To me, that adds up to an easy double, at least, if not more. So I've done well for it. I'm up, 40-45% on my holdings, and I have no intention of selling. I plan on adding. So do me a favor, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and if you got any questions or comments on it, tell me what you think about it, or tell me any hidden gems you think you have, because I think that's what that is. And I'm going to go do a DoorDash, and I'm not going to take you on a ride, but I'll give you an update on how I did afterward, and we'll talk to you later. Oh, and one more thing, those articles I used, I'll link them in the description below.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then your talking don't matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling, patent pockets. We take the dollar, dollar, can a damn soul stop it. Here comes the new kid on the block. Hold on your bets, here's where the buck stops. See, first of all, I'm stepping out on my own. About time I elevated to claim my own throne. Success in my blood, call it homegrown.
pores reeking testosterone. Power and money got me crazy cocky. No longer need you, poppy. I know you're mad because you can't stop me. And if you wonder how this player done scooped your honey, I think she smell my cologne. It's called brand new money. Making major moves, man, ain't a damn thing funny. Pimpin' hood rats to Playboy bunnies. They see the. They see it. They see it.
Say what? Money. I'm global dollar and roll with about 50. Like to go out smelling fresh and looking spiffy. Don't like clean money, I want my wrist to be filthy. Pops with that retirement fund, I can't touch till I'm 60. So what am I supposed to do? Rollin' through, steady patting them pockets till I'm stacking holding two. Ching ching bling bling, catching cash in lumps. It's a Coro, get a jacket, I'm selling them out my trunk. Whenever, whatever, it takes to shake down a dollar. Mozo in that direction, wait a minute, holla holla. All wants to know where they go, where they winning. A Mick and Marshall Monday, smelling just like a mint.
You know, back in the days, they said money is the root of all evil.
Money.
Nowadays, money is the root of rich tree.
Come on. Now, if you can't see the money, get your eyes clean with Visine. I need 5 things plus 7 digits at a time. See my children chillin'. The best, never worse. See, we never get the pebbles, they got the rocks first. Bank vaults, I'm locking. Ching ching, we're mocking. I'm rocking. My family Christmas stockings are shocking. Fine women, any weather. Naughty denim and leather. Call it trickin', whatever. Son, they get better. I'm one smart cookie, the vet that smacks rookies. My stock's on top, your checks bounce while mine's boogie. Wrist, I must rock it. Chicks, stop it, I knock it. Cash looks like I got a gang of fists in my pockets. Fist in my pockets. Fist in my pockets.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money. Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money,
Dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then your talking don't matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling, patent pockets. We take the dollar, can a damn soul stop it.
Here comes the new kid on the block. Hold all your bets, here's where the buck stops. See, first of all, I'm stepping out on my own. About time I elevated to claim my own throne. Success in my blood.
Alright guys, we had a good night tonight. I told you if you keep doing it, you know it all evens out. So, made about $102. I don't know the exact amount because I can't see my Uber Eats tips until an hour after I receive it. It can be kind of annoying for that, but anyway, $102. Got to learn about a cool little stock that's going to make you money if you invest in it. Guarantee it. I'm not a financial advisor though, so be careful with that. Anyway, calling it a night. Headed home. Well, guys, another night down. Do me a favor, please give me a like, give me a subscription, and I'm headed home. Giving the wife off tonight from cooking. A little bit of pizza. So, take care.